Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Last Minute Kickout. We are the Three Men Beard Trip, and this week we're going to be talking about TLC 2017. I am Pete Titan Squid Nethercoat, as always, joined by John Turbo Finley and Kevin AAUK Eva. If he still wants to be using that name, I can't remember.
He kind of stopped using it, but he doesn't.
Yeah, I kind of thought he did. So that's Kevin, the Kevin Eva, and
Kilo
yes,
Victor India November.
We're the Shield. But yes, TLC 2017 just happened. We're recording this after Raw and SmackDown has happened. I believe John and I have seen the follow-ups, but not missed Kevin yet, because work happens, and work is a thing that does happen.
It's been fun. I had no sounds of last night at all. Did nothing.
TLC is a card that went in with a lot of hype, considering that there was only 2 title matches on the actual card. And then on 2 days before the actual card happened, a lot of the card got more interesting and less interesting. So it's one of those things that went into with a lot of hype, lost it, and the actual card itself, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, basically, the plague hit it.
Yeah,
essentially.
It says,
well, I'm just
WWE that the best booker in the business is the mumps and potential meningitis.
Yeah.
No, it was a thing. But yeah, hope everybody enjoyed episode 1, and as we talk about episode 2 with tables, ladders, and chairs. Hopefully I've done that in the right order. But yes, we'll start with the kickoff show, which I missed most of and just caught the actual end of the match, which I'm kind of glad for because it was Sasha Banks and Alicia Fox.
Yeah.
So it's really annoying because Alicia Fox can wrestle, she just can't talk. And
yeah, that's the issue that I have is that she has one really good move in her arsenal,
the Northern Lights,
and the Northern Light suplex, and that's a really good move to be doing for herself, for her. But yeah, the rest of her, nothing, absolutely nothing of good value is part of her character, her performance after that.
I have a feeling they've brought Alicia Fox up because Nia Jax is obviously taking a leave of absence from what I'm aware of.
Well, yeah, I mean, previously she was trying to be with Bloomin' Noam Dar, and look where that went. Jeez, I feel sorry for the man. Jeez. It's like,
yeah, so the match was really nothing.
Yeah, it started off very scrappy it almost harkened to the start of a Bloomin' Divas match.
Yeah,
and that really is like that. It's just I thought we were out of this rut.
My problem with this match is the same problem with most of the card, and the winner is pretty easily telegraphed due to what the actual booking is.
Yeah.
So if you actually look at the booking with the actual last minute changes over the card, a lot of the winners were quite easily knowable just by looking at who was facing who. But yeah.
Program.
What?
Who actually has a program at the moment? They are winning.
Yeah, well, pretty much.
Everyone else, me.
Yeah. Did you catch the kickoff match, Kev?
I did actually.
Thoughts?
There was some good stuff in it, sprinkled throughout. Believe it or not. First of all, we had commentary doing good. Graves put over actually Foxwell because it's Graves, and naturally enough, it's just like, hey, remember this person that you don't give a damn about? Actually, it was deceptively strong. Booker mentioned her tenacity as well. Actually, Booker was all over the shop,
as he usually is.
Yeah.
We will get to that eventually.
Yeah. There was some little bits. There was a little tease of the Banks going over to heel still, because
Yeah,
there was the handshake. She sort of did the heel move and did the drop kick.
yeah. They've been teasing that heel turn since Bailey's been back properly, and I don't think they're going to pull the trigger on that anytime soon. They might do now
I think
that
they'll
Nia.
save that for. I think they'll save that for Mania season. I think.
No, yeah, you're probably right. At this point, I have a strong feeling going into Royal Rumble that we'll probably have a women's Royal Rumble as well, because that seems to be how the booking seems to be going.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we see something around there, like her and Bailey team up and then kicks Bailey out at the last minute.
Yeah, they're going to put it on hold with Survivor Series now.
No, absolutely. Which is another conversation entirely based on Raw and SmackDown this week. But
there was another couple of little thing. Alicia Fox's tantrum on the outside was horrendous.
Yeah,
it was flailing and terrible. Please take lessons from Christian if you're going to have a
circa WrestleMania 18. He did it the best way of doing it.
Alicia Fox's tilt-a-whirl backbreaker looked pretty sick, actually. That was good. Although it was spoiled somewhat by the very obvious way Sasha Banks set herself up for it. Everyone yelling at the ref to do his job and count was quite funny. And actually, I quite like the fact that they did this sort of... they did some ring psychology with Alicia going for the count-out victory, and then afterwards them sort of mirroring it, and Sasha kind of going for the count-out victory. It's you don't really see sort of both competitors go for a count-out quite often. So
no.
that was a little different. Props to the guy in the Rock Band World Tour shirt in the front row.
Yeah,
continually standing up and promoting that game.
Eagle eye on that, because I didn't catch that.
He was there for Raw and I believe SmackDown as well. Yeah. Well, there was somebody there.
Yeah, and then Booker T for some reason compared Alicia Fox to the Missing Link.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting wrestling connection, but at the same time, what?
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. It was a very kickoff show match.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way to explain it, really. It was a match that felt like it deserved to be on the kickoff show compared to like a lot of stuff that we've had previously. Mm-hmm. I don't really think the match got anybody hyped for anything, though. I think that's the problem.
Nah. Well, I mean, granted it had its fair share of time on it. It was only like a match that went just over 10 minutes, so it was a decent enough match, but nothing too engaging to entice people to be hyped for the card ahead. Although, what was it? I saw this tweet on Twitter of another. You talked about the Rock Band World Tour guy, Kevin. I saw another sign that was tweeted by someone I know, and it was
can't let you do that, Alicia Fox.
Alicia Fox, yeah. It was like
it was brilliant.
It's like a lot of video game references today on this show in the crowd. Mm-hmm. I don't know why.
Well, one last thing from my side. It was like we had the battle of the 90s lycra going on, because we had fluorescent yellow and versus fluorescent pink. It was this very weird.
I can't wait until we get to Survivor Series where we have all the fluorescent, including the light. For bloody.
We've got the black light, and then we've got Bailey, who basically wears every color ever.
That's Naomi at the moment.
Indeed. But yeah, I think with that we should just move straight on to the first match of the night.
Yep. And funnily enough, Kevin just mentioned her by name, because our first match was that of Emma versus Asuka.
Yeah.
And guys, I love Asuka. She's so awesome.
She's good. I don't like the mask. I know it's part of the whole entrance.
Of course, yeah. I mean, the mask isn't that appealing. I mean,
Absolutely.
you know, I don't think those things sell very well in the WWE shop, but at least her Titantron, she has like a you know, kind of like uh you know, a different foray of different masks and whatnot.
No,
But the mask that
absolutely.
she had wearing for the show
They
tonight
basically
was the
recycled
green
the old Rey
one.
Mysterio one.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, yeah,
actually,
no,
it
the
looks fine,
Titantron
actually.
reminds you of that. Yeah. I thought it was a very good match. Considering again, we knew who was going to win this match. It was quite obvious
Yeah.
that Asuka debuting was going to win, but I felt like the match actually did very well to put Emma over.
Oh yeah, it's pretty much doing the same thing as what they did with Shinsuke Nakamura, is actually putting in a little more competition for their opponent against this strong, dominant kind of like Japanese hard, you know, strong style wrestler, and it really did show that obviously Emma was holding her own to a certain degree, which was good.
Yeah.
But some people obviously are kind of like disappointed that Asuka wasn't being the killer that she has been in NXT. But of course, we'll see that down the line.
I think
Eventually,
once Asuka's been on the roster for a while, we'll see her, because they can't have her just come out straight dominate, and because essentially they can't have her do what she did on NXT, because that's what everybody's
we can't have her
expecting
have. Yeah, we can't have her have like 3-minute squash matches with the entire women's roster. That's not gonna help.
No.
But no, in this match, I mean, she was at top form. Was it one of the main highlights that I think here was it's just Asuka strikes, like Asuka just kicking in Emma's head at one point. I was just literally going, "Ow!"
And then just like stamping on her head.
Yeah, so it's like that is like pure on Asuka viciousness right there, and it's just like,
Emma was ready for the first one.
No!
She was very ready.
Yeah, that's why I said.
Like, well,
that's why I said, "Ouch!" You know, it's like that was just brutal. I mean, the crowd was totally behind Asuka all the way. Like, she was definitely getting loved by the fan. Like, a lot of the crowd was behind Asuka and knew who she was from NXT and whatnot, which is a good thing, because you need that crowd kind of like, you know, support in order to get the TV audience to say, "Hey, this character means something to the crowd. They need to, you know, do this and whatnot." So yeah.
I think it was a very good match that made Emma look decent.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I mean, she did hold her own, but she didn't have too much of offense against Asuka. I think it was like 30, like it's not even 50-50, like 60-40 to Asuka's kind of like side.
But I mean, that makes sense considering Asuka was going to win. Like,
yeah, of course.
But yeah, I mean, that's all I've really got to say on that match. Like, yeah, it was a very easy to determine match who was going to win that. Emma and Asuka both look strong in the match.
What about yourself, Kev?
Yeah, a few things. Yeah, I think it was, as John mentioned, a lot of people were upset about the amount of offense that Emma got in the match. They did make out, at least in the commentary, they did try to indicate that, you know, it's the big leagues now, and it's not going to necessarily be as easy.
Yeah,
they played on that a bit. Also, I think it was deceptive because people were surprised that Emma actually got offense at all. Because it was like all of a sudden, hey, remember when Emma had like a build and stuff before the injury, and Emelina and everything?
Yes,
when she was the badass.
I still don't like Emma's new music.
My second note is Emma's theme is trash.
Yeah,
it is terrible. My first note though was, why was this first?
I have a feeling it was Asuka's back. Let's get the crowd hyped.
But considering everything else and considering some of the other matches we had, I could have seen something else jerking the curtain as opposed to this.
I think they're trying. Yeah, I think they're trying to go for the same thing they had when they put the a big Cena title match on first. I can't remember when it was, but that was obviously
I
due
believe it
to
was when CM
American
Punk had the
TV.
title.
No, it was this year, but I got what you're saying because there was something that was on American television that they wanted to compete with at the time, so they put the championship match on first.
Yeah, it was the election.
I'm
Yeah.
wrong anyway. It was Punk who was first when he had the title.
Yeah.
Again, there's the hard strikes. The rolling through of the ankle lock was good. It just to show Asuka's tenacity and
Yes.
Yeah.
The third time, Emma's knee bent in a way which is not supposed to happen.
Even the commentators made a thing on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was putting in that one there, and I said, "Look at the twist." It was like, woo, just like
because everyone in the crowd went, the commentators went. It was just like, oh, dude, don't do that again.
But no, nobody was seriously harmed off of it. So
unfortunately, she went. Poor Emma went from that and her knee being turned inside out into a German suplex, complete with captured leg still, and she landed pretty flat. It was not a good couple of minutes to be Emma.
No.
In time, but yeah, Emma came out of it with some degree of competence, and Asuka came out, and they get to say that things are more difficult from now, and she still beat the person. Asuka still beat the person who beat everybody else, in that division. So she's still sort of immediately set up to be potential number one contender. So
but of course, the match ended at 9 minutes 26, so it was under 10 minutes, which just barely.
I don't think it needed to last any longer than it did.
No.
I'm definitely looking at these matches and going, this match feels like it could be over, and then it ends like a couple of half a minute later, and I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, I've had my fill of this match. It's done what I needed it to. Let's move on. Speaking of moving on,
I was gonna say there's quite the reason why these matches were short, and we'll get to those in just a moment. Also, by the way, Asuka had a little bit of underboob there, so
she always does. That's her whole shtick with that.
So, ooh.
Yeah.
I only just noticed that. I didn't notice that before it passed, so it's like, I just wanted to point it out there, guys.
Sure.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
But yes, moving on. What was the next match on the card?
There wasn't a match next.
No, there wasn't.
Figures a match next. I think we're forgetting the most important thing that happened on this entire card, which is that we wasted time while Elias came out, sat on the chair, and then Jason Jordan came out with some food produce and threw them at him.
Well, this is following on from an apparent skit that happened on the pre-show where Elias interrupted Jordan. So, the less said about this, the better, because I didn't even know what was going on.
Well, can I point out that apparently Cole was disappointed by this? I only have 3 words for that. Fuck off, Cole.
Yes.
Do not try to be...
That's a shame.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's like... No, stop being so cynical, you.
I don't like how the current commentators have this whole "I'll switch on my heel or face" persona when I deem it necessary. It's irrelevant. It's bullshit. It's 2017.
Broken.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was the next actual match?
Was the 205 live? It's the cruiserweight tag team match. Between evil Jack Gallagher.
I'll be honest with you. I think I must have fallen asleep because I don't even remember that match.
Don't blame you. But no. Jack Gallagher is evil now because he has a moustache, I guess.
No, he had a moustache to begin with.
Which just means he was.
He just turned evil. He just wears a suit while he wrestles.
Okay. Who actually watches 205 Live? Brilliant. let's skip on. No one really cares. To like the cruiserweight division is a hot fucking mess right now. Because I do watch it, and they basically do continue a storyline every 2 weeks, basically. So we get 2 storylines going on every 1 week, and then the next 2 another week with them interspersed on Raw. And as we mentioned last time, the fucking storylines are fucked up because something that happens on 205 Live doesn't coincide with what's going on Raw at the moment. It's a fucking hot mess. It was an okay match. Made no fucking point who won. Let's move on.
Okay, fair enough. Well, in that case, do you want to go to the next match, Kev, or do you have something to say?
My notes now disappear. So
yeah, apparently mine disappeared as well. Yeah, apparently it was lost to the ether.
In brevity, before we go on, I appreciate Jack Gallagher's William Regal style wrist tape that he's wearing on his hand.
Yeah,
for no other reason. Swan hit a flip and basically a somersault flip and basically just sat on Gallagher's shoulder, which I'm sure just did him fantastic damage. Followed by Alexander just doing a somersault plunger over the top rope and just making zero contact with anybody basically. But it was devastating maneuvers, and then the faces won.
Yeah, but we did have a Phoenix Splash.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Yeah. Everyone does it.
Everyone's done it now.
The cruiserweight division just.
You know that the production team were taking a break because they allowed somebody with a cease and desist Young Bucks shirt to be centre of the camera the entirety of the match.
It was a piss break match.
Like for the production team.
Yeah, apparently.
I guess this was the match that should have started the show. Then I suppose.
I agree that this should have been a kickoff match or should have opened the show with, because the cruiserweight style is really good for building up a lot of smack.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Kendrick also had some very good tag team psychology, trapping the leg, grapevining the leg. One Swan, I think, was on the ground.
The thing is,
him over the third corner.
The thing is that they did this as a match. It was either on Raw or on 205 Live that just happened, like the week before TLC, and it was pretty much just a carbon copy of the match with the same winners. Like, there was nothing new in this match. This is why it was completely pointless to have.
Oh, good.
Like, there was no point to it. Anyway.
Cool. Let's move on to the next match.
What was it?
It was the Women's Championship match for the Raw Women's Championship between Alexa Bliss and Mickie James.
So this was
No, she's old.
No.
She's old. No.
I know the bill.
Love of God.
Again, it goes back to our review last week about how WWE just doesn't know how to kind of like make anything new for an angle and whatnot.
Yeah,
it's evil foreigner and whatnot. Now we got old or age. It's such a terrible thing and whatnot. Blah blah blah.
The only thing they can do with Mickie James is just to insult Mickie James.
Well, at least they're not calling her Piggy James like they were when she was, in her last run.
This thing had Vince's fingerprints on.
I'll be honest with you. Going into this match, like a week before the Raw go home show, I was just like, okay, Mickie James could win this, and they might set her up. But the minute they started letting her announce that she wants to win it to be her 7th championship reign, and I knew that she wasn't going to win this. No,
of course not. That was the telltale sign, because it was the same with the Dudleys. It was the same with the what else? Who else kind of came back? I mean, the only person who came back and actually won a championship was Goldberg, but they only did that to have a marquee match at WrestleMania. So it's like. Oh, well,
the Hardys did come back and win. Yeah. I understand the want to have these big name old stars come back and build up the younger stars, but people who already have Alexa Bliss is really good. Charlotte's really good. So far she's so good that she's won both women's championships within a year. So all of these names are really, really good in house, and they should be having really good fire matches with their current talent. Now, don't get me wrong, Mickie James and Alexa Bliss was an astounding match to watch. It was really, really good. It was really on point, and it did really well. But having an older star continually used to the newer star essentially is just going to go on, and it's just going to always be young's going to beat the old. Like, we need to have like more stuff that we saw on NXT, which is more Sasha versus Bailey type matches in like marquee showdown stuff. It needs to be that fire, that good.
Yeah.
It was a shotgun build.
Mhm.
And
I do have a feeling that
build for a holding pattern match. We're just buying time to get past Survivor Series so we can get. We've got Asuka and Sasha because they've been teasing that for a lot. That was the entire thing from that the match to have the right to face Asuka. Remember.
Yeah.
The only thing that we've heard since then is how Sasha really wanted to face Asuka. So they've got that, and they've got her versus Alexa Bliss. Interesting note, because I did look this up, with her going on about age so much. Pretty much the only two women's wrestlers in WWE who are actually younger than Alexa Bliss are Sasha Banks and Paige. Everyone else is older. So everyone's old, apparently.
Yeah.
Everybody's old.
I mean, that's just, unfortunately, that's the nature of WWE anyway. Like, to get into the business as it is, you've got to be young and build your craft elsewhere. I mean, by the time you get into WWE, you're at least, 30? Our age? Yeah. Our age, essentially.
Don't,
like, unless you're really lucky.
They might all think we're strapping 21-year-olds. Oh wait, people on iTunes, because we're now on iTunes with this. Also, hello. Just when you're thinking about what we might possibly look like, just imagine, 6 foot.
3 dudes with beards. Just 3 dudes with beards. It's fine.
All blonde, strapping muscles. Out
we're all amateur wrestlers in our own right.
Yeah,
it's true.
We're well known on the indie circuit by many different names. All of them Get Out.
But yeah, John, you got anything to say on the match?
Yeah, a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. There was some really good kind of like back and forth during the match. There was a double knockdown spot that was really good.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was a really good spot there. Mickie James with a beautiful drop to kick at one point. A sunset powerbomb from that Alexa Bliss did for a 2 count. That was really good. But when it got to the end of the match, it really irked me that the crowd was losing interest and they started chanting for tables.
Yeah.
I was like, I just basically shouted, "Fuck off!" It's like,
I mean,
seriously.
I think it's the kind of problem that you have when you have pay-per-views that are named after like big marquee like matches that we used to get one of a year or like every couple of years.
Well, granted,
I think it's the problem that because it was called TLC and there was all the tables, ladders, and chairs everywhere, regardless, that people were expecting more hardcore matches as it was, rather than just the one TLC match to end the card.
I thought it was pretty clear that Mickey's fans were just after some hardcore country. But
no, I do get your point, John. I think I pretty much gave the same sort of reaction when they started. It was just like, there's no need for this. Like, I understand that you want, like, but this clearly wasn't what the match
carnage.
Was. Yeah.
But anyway,
again, yeah. I mean, it was a pretty it was a decent match where we kind of knew the result going into it, which is annoying.
Yeah. Aye. I mean, did you have any extra notes yourself, Kev, talking about the match?
There was some good going. They told a consistent story throughout with the working over of the arm. There was no forgetting which arm it was. That was it. It was all the way throughout. Mickey, I think she fell off the top at one point. There was like a weird thing where there was like an accidental thing that worked into Alexa's favor.
Yeah.
And then she was on the mat and she was screaming her lungs out. I mean,
yes, it was. She was playing possum, wasn't she? Because Alexa went for the high risk and then missed it.
Because bust out
Mickey moved.
Terry Funk, my arm, Alexa.
Yeah, it was the Twisted Bliss that she missed to kind of like take advantage of. So yeah,
I think that the finish. Yeah, I'm torn on the finish because they made a whole thing about she's a veteran, and then she lost by a very novice thing to do in terms of trust.
Yeah.
Which was kind of covered by Alexa's facial expression immediately afterwards, which was like, how the heck did she survive all this and what have you? But then she just turned back to normal and waha boo-hoo and cried, which is a usual thing.
Yeah,
I felt she was on the ramp for a lot longer than she needed to be. Like there was meant to be something else that was meant to happen, maybe.
Well, granted, it kind of like that was after her kind of like her John Cena-esque kind of like promo that she had in the ring, where it's like, you win some, you lose some. She actually said that. Well, actually, no, it wasn't in her promo. She said that as she was going up the ramp. And going into the back, she says, "You win some, you lose some." It's like, no, don't act like John Cena. That's not the way to do things. You're pissed. You lost.
She's also the face.
You can still be pissed if you're face.
I think the only way you can be visibly annoyed at a loss like that is if you're a heel in a heel scenario. Because otherwise, you've got to just keep up the kayfabe on the camera. But yeah, no, good match, which I believe takes us into another Elias segment.
Again.
Which we can skip over because it was exactly the same again. I don't understand.
One note that I had written was just, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
That's all I wrote.
Well, that's what I wrote as well. Elias, ... Again, ... Fuck. That's all I said.
But yeah, it then takes us into another 205 Live spectacular of Mr. Amore versus Kalisto in another weird ass title change for no reason whatsoever.
I'll tell you one thing from the get-go though. His music is now getting booed.
Yes,
which is what wasn't happening, because he was still getting face pop when the music was, and now it's very. He's still getting
crowd joining when he does his thing though, which is what he needs to change if he wants to go for the full heel.
Although they totally were perplexed of what happened when they were going into the whole spiel, because Enzo Amore was a little hoarse during that during that promo that he had, because I don't know how many Marlboros he was smoking, but he could not say
I think it's the same as the normal like throat thing that's going around. I've had the throat noise for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he was definitely sounding bad doing that. Also, Kalisto has his old Lucha Dragons music again.
He had it. They gave it back to him when he re-debuted on Raw instead of the new theme they gave him when he was still on SmackDown. I have a feeling that that's because the new music they were trying to give him was to be a bit more heelish, and he's obviously the face on 205 Live at the moment. So, but I mean, 205 Live is just so much in the air with Neville essentially gone now, taking his ball and gone home by the sound of it.
Well, for good reason, really. From
absolutely.
what we've been talking about, like for example, in this match, where basically, like Kalisto obviously was doing well. He was doing like overhead, head scissor takedowns, to Enzo and whatnot. It's like decent kind of like kicks and flips from Kalisto and whatnot. Enzo with his offense of his DDG. Yeah. I totally piss all over of Jake the Snake. Why don't you? Yeah, the finish I obviously was kind of annoyed at, and I'm sure this is probably the reason why Neville is no longer wanting to be with WWE, because of booking decisions like this. I don't know what the rest of your guys' thoughts are on the rest of that match was, but basically I just did not like this match.
I mean,
at all.
I haven't liked the storyline at all regarding any of the, like, when Enzo Amore went there and had the storyline with Neville. Sure, it was good. Okay, Neville lost the title, and then I don't know, they could have had Neville go back to like keep heel or be face, but I think just the like, I don't know why they decided to put the title on Kalisto, because Neville walked out because Neville wasn't going to win that when Neville clearly should have beaten Enzo Amore.
They fell into the old wrestling tradition that the substitute wins in a shock.
But it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why.
Again, it's to do with having consistent storylines on Raw and a non-consistent storyline on 205 Live. It's so weird. Like, and they should just keep it consistent without, because that way you can go. It's the same way as when they had the consistent storyline between Raw and SmackDown when it was all one brand back in the day, even with SmackDown pre-taped and everything else. You still had to want to watch SmackDown to see what happened, and there were some really good marquee shows back on SmackDown back in the day. Like, you actually had the odd title change every now and again. It made you want to watch SmackDown. Currently, there's nothing to watch 205 Live because the storylines are not consistent. They're doing 2-3 matches in an hour, and I'm like, and they're just doing just like the odd storyline, and it doesn't match up with what's going on Raw half the time. It's so frustrating because it's so annoying to know that the cruiserweights did well and had more interest in them when the storyline that was there was built around them wanting to win a trophy and nothing else. Yeah. And now they're trying to invoke storyline to give it a show, and it doesn't work because
it's the main roster writers that are working on this crap, and they have no clue how to use them at times. And they go back to the well as well, and it just doesn't gel at all whatsoever.
But no, it was a pretty bad match. I think it was the only shock title twist change. I wasn't expecting Amore to win it, to be honest.
Yeah,
not so soon.
What was your kind of like take on it, Kev?
My take on it was he is Enzo Amore and he's a bona fide bore, and like
he's a bona fide bore, which brings
watch that seriously. I don't like Enzo in the ring. The most entertaining Enzo has ever been was when he conked himself out on the bottom rope. It's and I preferred his promos after that because he was unconscious. I understand why he's got the connection with the crowd, and he does have the gift of the gab, no question about it.
Well, he's the opposite to Alicia Fox, isn't it? He can talk, but he can't wrestle. Weren't they even shouting, "You can't wrestle" at him at some point?
I can't remember them chanting that.
I can't remember. I know they did it recently. I can't remember who.
His character's that he's a dick. He wrestles like he's a dick,
but he has the belt because he makes money. That's the problem. He makes money.
It's just like
that's the irritating thing.
You don't hate it. It's an odd one because it's not like X-Pac Heat. X-Pac Heat.
No.
Enzo Heat is sort of just like, I hate you as a person. it's like I hate you for anything. It's like, no, I hate you as a person. Personally, I hate you, as opposed to oh, you dastardly person. He goes, no, I just don't like you, and
Yeah. But I mean, that's the same. I mean, not everybody's going to like everybody. I mean, I'm the one that grew up liking John Cena when everybody hated him. I'm the one that
it's your fault.
Yeah, I'm the problem. Me, I'm the problem.
Get
Um,
the torches and the burning brands.
I don't like Roman Reigns. It's all right though. But yeah,
you've matured obviously over time.
I wouldn't go that far.
His music is supposed to invoke a cheer now because it's the Shield music.
It was always the Shield music.
His music anymore was to reunite the Shield.
Yes. Well, anyway, next was one of the Finn Balor versus AJ Styles, the Demon versus the Phenomenal one.
Was it something you enjoyed, John?
It's like, oh my god, this is so fucking awesome.
Don't get me wrong, it was a really, really good match.
Yeah,
but it fell into the problem of, because it's a Raw pay-per-view, Finn Balor was always going to win the match, regardless of how good it was. And you went into that match and you knew it. And that was the biggest problem with the match, is that we knew the outcome.
Yeah. Now, granted, this was obviously the match that where we were originally going to have the Demon versus Sister Abigail. Now, granted, there are some people out there. Yeah, I was like, some people were out there thinking, "Oh, it's a shame about Bray Wyatt was ill and we couldn't see this match." It's like, thank fuck this didn't happen, because you knew fine it was gonna be bad. Because the last two kind of like encounters, or three encounters that they had in matches, were subpar to below at best. And it's like, it really irked me how people were kind of like, oh, it would have been nice to see how it would. No, this is better. This is way better, and this had no build.
Like, so I'll agree with you, but the best match that these two actually had was the one that was on Raw, not the one that was on the pay-per-view. The one where Bray actually won was the best match of the three. Well, it would have been the best match of the three.
Which is kind of stupid, It's like... But, no, going to this match alone, I mean, just the psychology... Like, Kevin's probably got to say this as well, but, the ring psychology that Finn and AJ had in this match was amazing. Like, the synergy, essentially, was there, of them just being able to work off each other and be able to, doing counters and doing each moves on each other, was just really good. It wasn't fluid; it was really good. Granted, you're probably gonna agree, Pete, that this wasn't like a 5-star match or anything like that. This was like,
I'd say it's definitely I mean, I don't really give stuff. I'm invested in this match. It's a good match. That's the way I look at it. And just like with anything else, if I'm invested in the match and I enjoy the match, it's a good match. Like, I don't need to worry about giving it numbers or stars or anything else. It was a good match. No. They went old style with the old collar and lock, with the lockups and everything else. They progressed to like some of the hard hitting stuff that they've done in New Japan, and they picked up there, and they just had a mixture of all the different wrestling types. It was very good to watch. Yeah,
and they pretty much busted out their arsenal quite well. Hell, what was it? Finn Balor pull off what was it, a bow and arrow submission?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, who does that most of the time on the women roster? It's like, not many people.
It is normally AJ's done it a few times.
Yeah,
but it's very few and far between.
Yeah, so it's like busting out moves like that.
Cena in one of the matches they had, actually.
Aye, but
it used to be the move I'd always spam on WCW NWO Revenge on the N64.
Yes.
Oh, it was you.
But one thing I do want to say, the crowd was being overbearing again.
They were being incredibly smarky, especially at the end when there was the salute everybody wanted.
Yeah.
I think the crowd had the problem of being incredibly smarky.
Oh yeah, I mean, granted, we all wanted the match. It's just I wish that the crowd was not chanting "This is awesome" and all that bollocks before the match even got into the heat of it and whatnot. Although, granted, that's just me in general nowadays with crowds.
I think everybody on this cast is of the agreement that the crowd used that chant of "This is awesome" and "You deserve it" way too much.
Yeah.
Interestingly, they weren't given the gap for the one fall anymore.
No,
which I like. Like, no,
indeed.
you're not
of course you didn't. Of course you would like that.
Keep it where it was. It's not for WWE.
Yeah, but it was a good match. I enjoyed it.
No.
The mark-off at the end was okay.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of other things. Balor was able to hit the 1916. Although I think it was like a modified version of 1916 or Bloody Sunday, as it's normally called. But no, it was cool that he was able to pull off that. For that. Oh, geez, there's so many spots, both from Finn and AJ. AJ doing his 450, but missing, but still pulling it off. Just amazing. There's just so many a mid-air collision between the two as well.
Is it safe to say that this was your match of the night?
Oh yeah, I'll definitely say that. This match was definitely my match of the night. Going on, and it went on for a good long time as well, like 18 minutes. So,
I feel it went on a little bit too long.
I thought that was good. I thought that was a good, healthy kind of like time frame for that. Just under 20, over the 10-minute mark, but not over the 20-minute mark.
You think if it went if it went a little bit too long, it would have been too much?
If it was a championship match and it went a little longer, I would have accepted it. But if it went over the 20-minute mark, yeah, it would have been a little too much. But
I just think it lasted too long because it wasn't leading into anything. Obviously, with Raw and SmackDown this week, they've tried to tie it into something. But going into the match, there was obviously nothing really there. So it was just essentially, we need someone to fill a gap. There's no one on the Raw roster that can really do a match with Finn Balor, that makes any sense. Can we get AJ in? Sure, let's get AJ in. Kev, any quick thoughts?
Well, this is the point where knowledge just goes entirely. So I've seen bits of the match, but even the bits that I've seen are just like, wow, amazing. I think, as you said, the fact they turn to AJ at all, the fact that AJ is the person that they turn to, says a lot, I think, about what management thinks of AJ Styles. Which is good news. They also, they played up on the commentary that we've got to be very thankful for AJ for coming over. The fact that he was like overnighted on a plane from South America to do the thing, so they played up that a lot, I think, which is just like a nice indication of like, hey, AJ wasn't fresh, he wasn't necessarily at 100%, so he was slightly protected that way. I think because the match had no bearing, really. As we said, we knew who was going to win in this situation. And, it's not a big deal for AJ to lose in this situation. He's kind of protected with the other stuff. Because of that, and I think it was almost like there was no interference from the bookers or the matchmakers or anything like that. So they basically just let them do, okay, here's a lot amount of time, put together a match. You guys know how to have a match, put it together. I think it was more a match that was left up to the wrestlers themselves than,
Well, if they only had within 24 hours to do it, then that would make a lot of sense.
And what happened as a result? We got a very good match. Funny how that works out.
Yeah, I know, right?
The only other thing is, having seen the finish. Before that, the springboard from the outside in to a Hurricane Rana from the top from AJ. That was just like mad, and he almost missed it. So that
there was a lot of blink and miss it spots,
Yeah.
I think.
And the ending was a little bit because the coup de grace, he kind of just landed on style, and the coup de grace sort of like land and skid. He kind of just landed and stabbed into his kidney.
Yeah, pretty much almost standing on him.
Yeah, he basically just landed on him and stayed landed on him, and that was a bit cringe inducing. But yeah. From what I've seen of it, like I say, it's run minimal Kev knowledge now because I've not been able to see
Absolutely
with everything's going on.
But no,
wonderful.
Yeah,
seen it.
Good match all around. I would say it was probably best on the card, to be fair. And that moves us on from 2 piss break interludes to a whole piss break match. Elias for the 3rd time, just to infuriate John.
Are you indicating it's the favourite match of the night?
I want to just skip over this really quickly because I think the only thing that made any sense on this was the ending of the match.
Yeah.
Like it was going to lead into something. I'm not sure if it was meant to be a shoulder up, but the commentators seemed to make something of it, but nothing was followed up on Raw.
With the amount of replays that they showed of the blood and belly thing, you would expect them to follow up on the next night on Raw.
Yeah, but
really, in all honesty, it didn't really fucking care.
I understand why they want Jason Jordan and Elias so high up the card because they're both the 2 up and coming big names that they have on the roster.
See, I like Jason Jordan. He was all right. He is all right, but he's just being booked so badly.
I don't like Jordan at all. I just don't like him.
I met the guy personally myself. I actually bought him a drink when he was still part of NXT. This is an NXT story here. Yeah. It's like when him and Chad Gable were still on NXT and they were doing the UK tour to follow up to Takeover London and whatnot. And they were in the same hotel I was in. And they were down at the bar, and I was just fucking, hey, fancy getting a drink? Well, fancy me buying you a drink? And it's like, oh, sure, and get a selfie out of it and whatnot. And they're great guys, both of them, Jason Jordan and Chad Gable. And
I fully expect that.
I'm really annoyed at how the writers are, working with Jordan, how he's being portrayed, because he has charisma in a certain degree. It's just he needed Chad Gable obviously as that extra foil. It's the whole Enzo and Big Cass thing. Like that pairing was great, but when you split them apart,
here's my problem with the two. Like together they were brilliant. They were good tag team, but they just couldn't break out in the SmackDown tag division. Okay, fine. I understand you want to have some big names. Making one the illegitimate son of Kurt Angle was probably not the best way to go. Even Kurt has admitted he wants out of that storyline, which is obviously going to lead to a Jason Jordan versus Kurt Angle thing down the line. I don't think, and he's just been booked too hard. And then there was all the rumors of like The Miz versus Kurt Angle in like some sort of like you're pushing your son too hard into all these matches. Okay, that makes sense. Nothing's really happened of it. They haven't really done anything with Jason Jordan because they pushed Miz to obviously be top card, but not give him a belt. Just be like, here's the Intercontinental Championship. You're gonna hold it because you're gonna end up having like one of the longest matches, longest reigns holding the belt for like the longest time. We're gonna give you that one over all your title reigns, and that's gonna be it. And they're just gonna let the Miz do the thing, which is good. I love the Miz, loving the pieces, but what they're doing, Jason Jordan, means absolutely fucking nothing right now.
They've missed a trick. They missed
absolutely.
They missed a trick here with this match, and the trick was that he really should have. He either A should have lost or B cheated.
Elias should have just kept winning.
Yeah. Because if you're going to do that with Kurt, and you're going to get out of the parental angle, and you're going to get to a point where it's Jordan versus Angle, what an excellent way to start properly sowing the seeds of that. Whereas when they're both wrestling on the same card, it's father and son, and the father wins. Spoiler alert. Spoiler for TLC match. Angle's on the team that wins. But you get Angle who wins, and then you've got Jordan who either wins via cheating, so he doesn't have integrity, or he loses, and then Kurt can be like be rubbing in on SmackDown, or inadvertently rubbing on SmackDown, not SmackDown, on Raw.
Raw.
It's been so much crossover recently. And as Raw proved, he's not very subtle sometimes, and it can bite him in the ass. Hashtag Under Siege. But you can then have it so that, you know, Kurt's, you know, blustering, oh, it was good to be back, and I've still got it, and what have you. Is then you've got Jordan getting jealous of it and resentful of Kurt that way. So you can have it that way, or you could have Kurt being upset because his son is not showing integrity, and then Kurt could be, wow, I should have been there to raise you better, and then he could be like, are you saying my mum does not have integrity? Are you saying
I think a storyline where Kurt tries to take a more fathership, mentorship role and tries to teach him the 3 eyes, but Jordan going along the line is all like dastardly heelish ways to win these matches that Kurt's able to keep putting him into. Yeah, would eventually have worked, but like this was just shite, and it led into a shite match on Raw with a really gruesome injury to end it. But
yeah,
let's move on to the final match, which is the Shield. And I'm going to call it the Shield for one simple reason. The Shield versus the 5-man team of The Bar, The Miz, Kane, and Braun Strowman. Now, the only reason I say it's the Shield is because even though Kurt Angle was taking the place of Roman Reigns, this match felt like they literally just told Kurt what Roman was doing in this match, and that was it. It felt like what they would have just done with just Roman Reigns there.
Yeah,
it wasn't it Roman Reigns.
It was a very shorter, balder Roman Reigns, less Samoan, more gold medalist.
He was getting really big cheers, and the crowd was into him, so he must be Roman Reigns.
Well, you see, that's the thing. That if it was Roman Reigns, the crowd would have fucking turned, because if that was the same case, like with the whole scenario and whatnot of what actually happened to Kurt Angle happened to Roman Reigns, everyone would be doing the same thing. Now, it was understandable why they did it with Kurt Angle, because A, he's older, B, that's him just going back into a WWE ring, even though the year prior he was already wrestling. In independence and whatnot. It's not like he has that much.
Well, that's why they specifically build it as the first time in 11 years in the WWE.
Yeah, but you know, but if you had Roman Reigns in that kind of like situation where he was taken out by Braun Strowman, and then he comes back for the Galvant save.
As a fan, if they had done at TLC with Roman, and they pulled the same shit they did at the Royal Rumble, where they had Roman carted out and then he came back, it would be a complete and utter farce. The only reason they got away with it is because it was Kurt to begin with.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was one of those, it went in with a lot of hype, A, because they really massively overhyped it being Kurt's back, yay! And then, you know, with it being the hype of the Shield's back, yay! And I don't know, it wasn't okay. It felt like the match was completely there to build up to other things.
Oh, like,
what do we have? What do we have coming out of this match as build up? We had Kane being the new monster. They're obviously building Braun to come back, possibly with a face turn. Is the rumored thing right now?
It's a possibility, because he has a lot of like fan support for his destructive actions and whatnot, because his no I don't give a shit attitude is over with the fans right now.
Here's the thing: it works for Braun, but it doesn't work for Baron Corbin. It's
No, of course not.
amazing.
Well,
but
that's
like-
because they're two different people. Yeah,
But
Baron Corbin.
I like the fact that Kane can chokeslam Braun through the stage, have chairs fall on him. That can't beat him. He's beaten by a garbage truck.
They shredded him.
Yeah, he shredded him. Yeah.
But I have the feeling that we'll probably see Braun versus Kane in a buried alive match, possibly at Survivor Series, where the Undertaker comes back and buries Kane. Oh,
Finally, he gets his revenge on his brother after being buried twice.
yeah.
For God's sake. Yeah.
I don't know what to say about this match. It's what we expected. It's like nearly every heavyweight that has held, with the exception of like one person, I think, in this match that hasn't. No, two people that haven't held a world championship at one point. Like there was going to be big spots. It was going to be like a super heavyweight brawl.
Yeah.
My only complaint is that this was you watched it and you felt this is essentially the same match they would have had with Roman Reigns in its place.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing I had coming out of it. And again, it was one of those matches that you went into it knowing who was going to win.
Although, do you think that the same result would encounter Dean being buggered over by the tables in that match?
I did hear that the tables. I saw the way somebody put it was went into business for themselves.
Yes. So that high spot, I actually think it was less Dean that got more injury and more Seth that got, because Seth looked like he landed on his knee on the actual edge of the table. So,
well, that was the leap from the ladder to the announcer table spot. I'm talking about the spots.
Oh, the table
Dean.
didn't break. Yeah.
Yeah, twice for Dean. Yeah,
Those damn Japanese tables again.
Well, actually, it was funny because on the what was it? Matthew of Botchamania posted this on his Twitter, where the French commentary literally had the French commentary going, "I am the table," and it's like, oh my god, they are self-aware now.
Oh,
wow.
And you'll be seeing that in the next Botchamania.
Oh, good,
I'll
good.
definitely say that.
good.
And he'll like Matthew will be milking that dry.
Yeah.
Somebody also said you talk too much again recently.
I forgot. Who
No,
that is.
yeah, I know what you're talking about, but yeah. Again, to cut this short.
Kalisto.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes.
Yeah, he said it. Yeah. To cut this short, it was a good match. Calling it an Olympic shield bomb, really? Really?
Yeah, a bit forceful. That is.
But again, it's not really led into much other than, Miz is going back into his whole, just exactly like Sami Zayn is doing with Daniel Bryan. Essentially, he's rebelling against authority.
Yeah.
Which is good. It's what the Miz plays into. It worked really well for him on SmackDown. Kurt Angle is not Daniel Bryan. I won't react to it in the same way because there's obviously a lot of resentment on Bryan's part because of what's going on in his personal life right now.
Brian's Twitter after the Angle announcement was a joy.
Yeah, I saw his Twitter on it. It's like, yeah.
He was like, really?
Yep.
He was like, he's been cleared, is he? All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah, no.
No.
But yeah, any last thoughts? Just overall thoughts on the pay-per-view?
Overall, it could have been. Granted, it's not as good as like SmackDown's last one earlier this month. So in hindsight, it's like it's good that we did have that AJ Finn Balor match and the TLC match, even though it was just the one stipulation match type. It was good. But of course there was too many duds to call this a really good show, I think. So
I think it was okay for, I don't think it would have been better if Roman and Bray were there. I don't think it would have been better. Like, as I
no,
said,
of course not.
As we've already agreed, with Bray being there, the match would have probably been worse than what we've already had. And with Roman, we would have had exactly the same match anyway.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think it's worse than the last pay-per-view we talked about, which is Hell in a Cell. So yeah, I definitely don't rate it as high as that. So what are you gonna do?
Well, yeah, nowhere near as high as what we had last time. I agree, and it's more a case of there was too much. I mean, considering what we got and considering what it was, several of the matches were thrown out, but ultimately we got, I think, probably better ones than we would have done, or at least in the TLC case, the same. Still a little bit too much felt like filler, and a little bit, that a lot of
It was basically an episode of
matches, the
Raw.
question was, why should I care?
I think that's the big problem with Raw pay-per-views, is it just feels like another episode of Raw, as you said, John, because 3-hour Raw and a 3-hour pay-per-view, like, it's just another episode of Raw, just with less backstage segments and less talking. That's essentially all it is. I don't know.
Well, definitely this one had a lot more segments in it than your average pay-per-view, and that really irked. Well, it irked me a lot.
No, absolutely. John, marks out of 10.
Marks out of 10. This is going to get a 4, only because the Finn Balor. If there wasn't the AJ Finn Balor match, it would have been a 2. Or at least a 3 at most, but a 4. I'm being generous. I would have given it a 5, but there was a lot of crap on this show that I just did not like, and of course Michael Cole was one of them.
Michael Cole is incredibly always a down point. Kev, marks out of 10.
Considering I've only seen half of it, I mean...
All right, well, out of the half of the show you've watched, the other half you've listened to us talk
the half of the show I've seen doesn't include the fullness of AJ versus...
so a 2 then.
So I'm it's shaping up to be a 5 for me. Anyway,
okay.
Shape up to be a 5. A disaster.
I'd agree. I'd agree. It's certainly a 5 out of 10. Like, I wouldn't rate it much higher than that. Only for its predictability. I'd like less predictability in the matches. Otherwise, predictions just go to shit, and I could just sit there and go, "This is going to win. This is going to win. This is going to win. This is going to win." Done. And it's boring because I'm going to watch something that blah. Anyway, we've been Last Minute Kick Out. John, if they want to follow you on the socials, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at TurboXLR. Also, you can follow me on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/Turbo Drive Live, where I stream every Friday and Saturday.
Mr. Kevin Eva.
You can find me on Twitter at the Kevin Eva, no relation to the Brian Kendrick, and you can also find Last Minute Continue on Twitter at LastMinContinue, or one word.
Yes, as well as on the YouTubes where this only podcast is, and we have an audio feed now.
Yeah, you can find us on iTunes. We are there. Also, if you go into Last Minute Continue, there will be stuff there.
Brilliant stuff. I'm in Titans Creed on the Twitters. You can find me on YouTube on my own channel at youtube.com/Project Phoenix. That's about it. I'm sure Kevin will work his magic in the post editing and put all of our social details on the screen for you to look at with the work of magic. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we have been the 3-man beard trip, and I'm sure I'll come up with another suitable beard pun next time. We could be the 3 beards, maybe.
I grow my back. I've trimmed it down.
Yeah, there we go. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you for the next Last Minute Kick Out. Peace out.
Bye.